The human voice. It's the instrument we all play. It's the most powerful sound in the world. Probably anyone can start in the war and or say I love you. And yet many people have the experience when they speak, people don't listen to them. Why is that? How can we speak powerfully that make change in the world? But I'd like to suggest there are a number of habits we need to away from. I've assembled for your pleasure here 7 deadly sins of speaking. I'm not pretending this doesn't exist, but the 7 I think are pretty large. Habits that we can all fall into. First, gossip. Speaking ill of somebody is not present. Not a nice habit that we know perfectly well the person gossiping 5 minutes later will be gossiping about us. Second, judging. We know people who are like in conversation. It's very hard to listen to somebody you know you've been judged. Third, negativity. You can fall into this. My mother and the last years of her life became very negative and it's hard to listen. I remember one day I said to her, this, it's a, I know, isn't it dreadful? It's hard to listen when somebody is that negative. Another form of negativity, complaining. Well, this is the national art of the UK. It's our national support. We complain about weather, about support, about politics, about everything, but actually complaining is vile misery. It's not spreading some light in the world. Excuses. We all met this guy, maybe you all been this guy. Some people have a blame thrower. They just pass it on to everybody else and don't take responsibility for the actions. It's hard to be someone like that. Exaggeration. It means our language sometimes. For example, if I see something that really is awesome, what do I call it? And then, of course, exaggeration because lying, and we don't. Finally, dogmatism. The confusion of fact with opinions. When those two things get conflated, you're listening into ring. Somebody is bombarding you with their opinions as if they were true. It's nothing to listen to that. There are 7 deadly sins of talking we need to avoid. There's a positive way of thinking about this. Yes, there is. I'd like to suggest that there are 4 really powerful cornerstone foundations that we can stand on if we want our speech to be powerful and to make change in the world. Fortune, the word is hail, as a correct definition. I'm not talking about stuff that falls from sky and hits your head. To greet or acclaim enthusiastically, if we stand on this 14, what do they stand for? The H, honesty, being true and what you say being straight and clear. The 8 is authenticity, just being yourself. A friend of myself describing it. The I is integrity, being your word, doing what you say, being somebody that can trust. And L is love. I don't mean romantic love, but I do wishing people well. First of all, absolute honesty may not be. You look ugly this moment, perhaps that's not necessary. Tempered with love, of course, honesty is a great thing. But also, if you're really wishing somebody well, it's very hard to judge them at the same time. I'm not even sure you can do this thing simultaneously. So, hail. Also, that's what you said. It's what you say, also the way that you say it. You have an amazing toolbox. This instrument is incredible, yet it's a toolbox that very few people open. Just pull a few tools out to play with, which will increase the power of your speaking. Register, for example. Falsetto may not be very useful most of the time, but there is a register in between. You can look it, however, if I talk up here my nose, you can hear the difference if I go here my throat. Most of us talk about our throat, but You need to go down here to the chest. You hear the difference? We vote for politicians. For the voices, we associate the depth and power with authority. Let's register. Then we have timbre. It's the way your voice feels. Again, research shows when you prefer voices which are rich, smooth, warm, like hot chocolate. It's not you. That's not the end of the world. It contains go get the voice coach and your amazing thing in reading with posture with exercises. Prosody, I love prosody. This is the sing-song meta language to be used to impart in the media root for meeting in conversation. People who speak all one quite hard to listen to if they don't have any prosody at all. That's where the word's monotony comes from, monotone. Also, we have petitive person non-coming, where every sentence is, when it's actually not a question, it's a statement. And if you repeat that over and over, it's actually restricting your ability to communicate to you, which I think is a shame. So let's try and break that habit. Pace. I can get very excited by saying something really quickly, or I can slow right down to emphasize. At the end of that, of course, the old friend silence. It's nothing wrong with a bit of silence. If the talks is there, don't have to wooden bunks. Can be very powerful. Of course, pitch often goes along with. You can just do it. Pitch. Where did you leave my keys? Where did you leave my keys? So it's slightly different meaning in those two different. Finally, volume. I can get really excited by using volume. Sorry about that. If I start on anybody, or I can really have it. Some people broadcast whole time. Try not to do that. As imposing your sound to people around you carelessly and inseparably not nice. Of course, where this first of all, it's when you got something really important to do. It might be standing on a stage like this and giving a talk to people. It might be proposing marriage, asking for a raise, wedding speech, whatever it is. If it's really important, owe it to yourself to look at this toolbox and the engine with which it's gonna work. And no engine works without warm up. Warm up your voice. Actually, let me show you how to do that. Would you all stand up for a moment? I'm gonna show you the 6 vocal warm-up exercises that I do before every talk I ever do. Anytime you're gonna talk to anybody important, do this. First, arms up, deep breath in, and sigh out, like that. One more time. Oh. Very good. Now we're going to warm up our lips, and we're gonna pa 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 pa. Very good. And now just like when you were a kid. Now your lips should become alive. We're gonna do the lungs with exaggerated la 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 la. Beautiful, you're getting real good at this. And roll now. That's like champagne for tongue. Finally, if I can only do one, the first gold is a siren is really good. It's like we as oh it's called fantastic. Give yourself a round of applause. Thank you, Sid. Take a seat, thank you. Next time you speak, do those in advance. Now let me just put this in context to close. This is a serious point here. This is where we are now. We speak not very well into people who simply aren't listening, and the environment that's all about noise and acoustic. I've talked about this on the stage in different phases. What will the world be like if we were speaking powerfully to people who are listening consciously in environments with actually fit for purpose? To make it larger, what would the world be like if we creating sounds consciously and consuming sound consciously and designing all our environments consciously for sound? That would be, and when we understand it, would be the norm, and that is an idea what we're spreading. Thank you.